Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are talking about my 2025 books. If you are new here and haven't seen my book videos, I always rank all of the books that I read this past year from my least favorite to my most favorite, so you guys stick around till the end to hear my favorite books this year. Also, I saw someone on TikTok do this, that they attached their mini mic to a teacup. I thought it was so cute. It looks nicer to hold this way, I guess. And hopefully the audio is good, because last time I used my mic, I attached it to my sweater and it sounded awful. Anyways, let's get into it. I know this is going to be a long video as always. I got my books right behind me. So I read 30 books this year right on the dot. I finished my last one on New Year's Eve. I do have a couple more that I'm talking about, mainly the Bridgerton series. I started it the year before and I finished the series this year, so I'm going to be talking about the series as a whole. Generally, I like to talk about series together, so while I read 30 books, we're going to have less than 30 entries into this rankings. So starting at the bottom, my least favorite book of the year, this is Ladies in Waiting by Laura L. Sullivan. I've had this one on my bookshelf for a while, and I'm trying to read some of my backstock, so I picked it up. This is a YA historical fiction, and man, it was one of the weirdest books I read in a while. It was definitely like well researched, but it was weird because it's YA, but it was like kind of graphic, but also not necessarily palatable for younger audiences. I find that older audiences can understand a little bit more of the nuance with historical fiction, but younger people, you can't do it. So I just didn't understand the book. Like, is this for older? Is this for younger? Because if it's for younger, I don't think it's good. And if it's for older, I think you should have gotten more in depth with some of the topics. There was also so many characters. It was so confusing. There's 3 main characters, like the 3 girls that you see on the front of the book, the 3 ladies in waiting. And I didn't like the ending for 2 out of 3 of them. I think it ended horribly for them. I debated DNFing it, but I was pretty close, so I just pushed through. But yeah, I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars, would not recommend, and I'm gonna declutter this. I really was like, I need to film this video soon, because as you can see, I have a huge stack of books on my bookshelf. I was like, I need to film this video so I can then declutter the ones I don't like after this. Okay, up next we have The Push by Ashley Audrain. I think this is also a Canadian author, which sucks since I didn't love the book. Based on the synopsis, I thought this was going to be a completely different book. It sounded like it was going to be a thriller, and it was much more of like a drama. The book focused a lot on what it means to be a mother, and just the societal thoughts and pressures of being a mother, which is not something I can relate to because I'm not a mother. I wasn't really a fan of the writing style and prose. It just I didn't vibe with it really, and it was predictable. So I gave it 3 stars, but upon further reflection, it was more closer to a 2.5 stars. Once again, not my favorite. Okay, I only have the first book, but I did read the second book. Okay, actually, question: do you count DNF towards your reading total? Because I did, because I wanted to reach 30, but I did not finish the second book in the series. The first one is called Paranormalcy. I'll put up the second one here. It is Supernaturally. So I had this one on my bookshelf since I was a teenager. This came out in 2010, so I probably got it around then. So I've had it around for a while. And like I said, trying to read some of the books that I have on my physical TBR. So I picked this one up in the fall because I thought it would be a really good time to read it. It is a YA paranormal book. There's lots of vampires and werewolves and different supernatural beings, so it definitely did fit that time, and it definitely was nostalgic to read. It brought me back to being a teenager and reading YA books during that time period, so that was fun part of it. But that nostalgia kind of wore off in the second book. The main character Evie wasn't bad for a 2010 main character. Sometimes if you read fiction back then, you know that sometimes the girls can be a little pick me, I'm so special, not like other girls energy, and she wasn't like that, which was enjoyable. I enjoyed the first book. I gave it 3.5 stars because I really did enjoy it. It wasn't the best thing ever, but it was fun. But the second book was just going in a completely different direction that I wasn't necessarily enjoying, and I was like, I don't think I'm down for this ride. I'm just gonna skip out now because I had other books that I wanted to read. So I DNF'd the second one. So that was the series. It was fine. It's kind of hard for me to hold this series, and also my mic, so you're going to see it once and then I'm going to put it down. I read the Dirty Air series. I got the nice covers at least. So this is a series by Lauren Asher, and it is a Formula One series. So the first one is Throttled. I'm holding it upside down. I was like, I thought that looked backwards. The first one is Throttled. The second one is Collided. Third one is Wrecked. And the final one is Redeemed. And as you can see, these are pretty big books. So yes, I picked up these books because I heard a lot of people talk about them online. They're kind of like the first original F1 sports romance books. And if you don't know, I'm really into F1 and I thought it would be fun. I started the first one during the winter break last year as like a fun way just to like pass the time over the break. And then I didn't love it. So it took me the rest of the year to read the rest of the books, mainly because I bought all of the books at once thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna love them. This is why you don't buy all of the books in a series until you actually read it, because I probably wouldn't have finished the series but I'd already bought the books. So I was like, I paid the money, I'm gonna commit to it. Maybe if I wasn't as much of an F1 fan, I would enjoy these books a lot more. I felt it was very cheesy how simple the explanations were. It was almost reductive, like kind of breaking it down, which I get, you know, you want it to be mass market available. People who aren't fans of F1 could read it, but then because I'm a F1 fan, I almost felt it was like, I understand the sport, why are you going into such simple details? I don't know, that was my perspective, and I have since read a couple of sports romance and I didn't feel the same way about those other books, how they explain the sports. So I think that's just really like this series, not the sports romance genre. And then it's funny because the first two books in the series are very F1 heavy, which I didn't necessarily enjoy, but then the second two barely had any in it and I was kind of missing it. I was just like, if you're going to be an F1 book, you got to deliver some of the F1 to me. So I don't know, there was no happy medium. I also am just not a fan of Lauren Asher's writing. It was kind of helpful for me because I read a lot of romance books this year and I was just thinking, I'm like, am I just really easy to please? But no, I think I actually did do a good job at picking out authors that I like their writing style, and that Lauren Asher is just not one of them. There are romance novels and books I just don't like. I don't really like her prose. I find the conversations to be very clunky and awkward, especially when it's not in between the two main characters. I think that's sometimes fine, but I find that she isn't very good at like building relationships and communicating in between people who aren't the main characters. I also find that the female main characters are very like, pick me, I'm not like other girls, and then all of the male main characters are assholes. So I don't really like either of them. I think the third book was the best book, and I think it's because Jax and Elena's, I don't know. I read the book. I don't know how you pronounce her name. I think their issues in character development was very interesting. And I almost wish it wasn't like an F1 book because it felt like, especially also with the fourth one too, it felt like she had these ideas for stories and was kind of just like wedging them into this world already. That was kind of like my overview thoughts of the series. I gave an average rating of 3 stars and the third one got 3.5 stars. It wasn't bad. Like actually the spice side of it was really enjoyable, but she just like chose to put in so much plot and I was like, maybe you should just focus on the spice because that part of it was good. Okay, switching directions completely. I read like the OG romance novel. I read Pride and Prejudice. As you can see, I have these really pretty Papermill Press classic books. My goal for 2025 was to read 5 classics. I read 2. You know what? I tried. So yes, I read Pride and Prejudice. I was looking forward to this because I know that Pride and Prejudice is a lot of people's favorite classic novel. After reading this book, I was like, maybe I'm just not a classic novel girly. That's why I didn't really read many others. The last quarter of the book was good, but it was just such a slog to get through the rest of the book to get to that point. There's just so many side characters and so many side stories. It was really confusing to keep track of. I don't know. The end was good. I also watched the Pride and Prejudice movie and I also was kind of just a little underwhelmed. I was like, there's just so much going on and so quickly. But then like their actual romance is such like a slow burn and everything. I don't know. I'm glad I read the book so I can finally understand all the reference to it because I feel like it is such an important piece in literature and also the romance genre. But it wasn't my favorite. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Up next, we have a book that I read, an audiobook. I started listening to audiobooks this year when I'm heading home from work. So I don't get through them that quickly. I save them as my little after work treat. It does help me get through a couple more books. So anyways, this is to say that I listened to Deep End by Ali Hazelwood on audiobooks. That's why I don't have the physical one. And I don't think I'm going to bother getting the physical book. It was fine. And like, I say fine, like, and then I rated it 3.5 stars. So I actually like did kind of enjoy it. I just don't think Ali Hazelwood's books are for me because it's just, there's just like some things that just annoy me. I don't love her female main characters. This is the second book I read, and this is the second one where I'm just like, I don't necessarily jive with them. In this case, Scarlett just like had so many issues, and I don't know, like I didn't love her. She felt very cold, and I get it. That is like supposed to be her character and personality. But I just didn't like her. In the same way that you don't like everyone that you meet in real life, you're not going to like every single character in every single book. I understand that some people probably do like her and relate to her. Not for me. I also find Ali's writing to be very like chronically online for me. And like I get it. You sometimes do want to reference some pop culture, but when you put too much into it, it's just like I'm trying to read to like not be on my phone, to try and like escape the online world, and then when you bring so much into it, it kind of like takes you out a little bit. So yeah, those are kind of the reasons that I felt like in both of her books were there, and just like makes me not necessarily want to read some of her other books. That being said, there were some things I really did enjoy about this book. The main male character, Lucas, was definitely the more likable of the two characters for me, even though he is written as very like cold and stoic. I think he had some more likable traits that you could see Scarlett kind of pulled out of him. I also really did enjoy the sports aspect of this book. Maybe it's because it's a sport that I don't know as well, but I felt it was very well researched, and the way that it was explained compared to like the Dirty Air series wasn't oversimplified. It was more just like, here it is. It was actually interesting because the tool that they did to explain the sport was Scarlett explaining it to her therapist. So I thought that was a very well done way of like making it so that way the audience was also getting the information at the same time. The spice in this book was pretty good, though I did expect it to be kinkier. If you have read the description of the book and also just like listening to the beginning of it, the whole entire thing is that like Scarlett is like a sub and like Lucas is like a dom. So it's like right from the beginning, you think it's going to be a lot. And it was good, but it wasn't as far as I thought it was going to go. Yes, I give it 3.5 stars because I still enjoyed the novel overall, but I just don't think I'll pick up other Ali Hazelwood books. Okay, up next we have Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. This is the newest book in the Hunger Games universe. This I found was a really hard book to rate. You know, I try obviously to rate the books of just like this actual book. Did I enjoy it? Did I not? But I also take into consideration like, how does this add to the Hunger Games universe? Is this necessary? Are you propelling it forward? Or are you just doing this to make money? You know what I mean? It's not just like, this was a standalone book. Did I enjoy it or not? So that's why I found it harder to rate, because I think that the actual book itself was enjoyable. I think there was good things and there was some not as good things. But when I sit back and think, did it add anything to the Hunger Games universe? I don't think there was anything new. There wasn't like new information, new characters, anything that like necessarily needed to be rehashed in its own separate book. I think The Ballad of the Songbirds and Snakes, the other prequel that she did, while I didn't like it as much as this one, it added more to the universe than this one did. I also felt like the ending dragged a little bit too, because there was a portion of like after the games ended before the book ended, and that was like, okay. I found myself kind of like flipping through pages a little bit, but I did enjoy it. It's very like classic Hunger Games in the sense that you have the reaping and then you have the training and then they go to the games. So it felt very much like I'm reading like a Hunger Games book. So that was enjoyable. But also it's like same words, different font. You know what I mean? Like it's the same thing, just like different characters. That's what I thought. I give it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I think if you are a Hunger Games fan, you should pick up the book. But if you aren't like a diehard fan, then I wouldn't go out of my way. Like if you haven't like read or even thought or watched any of the movies since they first came out, I don't think you need to rush out and get this one. Almost halfway. So now we're like at 3.75. So now we're starting to get into like books that are kind of like above average. These are like good. So I read We Were Liars. I read this because I wanted to watch the TV show. Did I watch the TV show this summer? No. No, I didn't. But I know they're coming out with a second season. So now I can watch season 1 and 2 back to back. I know I've read the book. So I know what's going on and I compare it. I think this book had a lot of potential and I think it didn't necessarily deliver what I wanted. I read this book because I was like wanting those like summer vibes. This is like I forget the genre. It's like YA thriller mystery, something like that. For me, I thought it needed to have a better juxtaposition in between the summer vibes and the mystery, and it just wasn't enough. It was more like a mystery set in summer, but I think if they had like amped up the like summer vibes, it would have been better. It would have had that better juxtaposition, and I just didn't think it did enough of it. It was actually one of the few times that I wish the book was longer so they could have added in more of those memories of like the past versus the present. I also felt like Lockhart was trying to be very like artsy with her writing. She would put in these like little stories that the main character was telling, going like once upon a time, and there was just like way too much of it. I think like the way that she was trying to put in some of the drama and the intrigue and the thriller, I just like didn't necessarily love the way that she was conveying it. That being said, I think there was some really interesting ideas that she had in here, and that's why I'm really happy that they did a TV show, because I'm hoping that the TV show kind of like pulled those very interesting topics and threads and we're able to like pull them apart and make them bigger and richer, because it is very interesting and I like really like the twist. I knew kind of what happened. I didn't know the full twist at the end. I kind of sort of knew it. It was like spoiled because I mean, to be fair, this book came out at least 10 years ago, so I kind of knew a little bit the ending, but it wasn't exactly what I knew, so I was very surprised by the ending and I'm very excited to watch it on TV. So I give it 3.75 out of 5 stars. It was pretty enjoyable. I just think things that I think the book could have done that would have made it like a 5 out of 5 star. It was there. The potential was there to be a really good book. Up next, we have my first holiday book. Well, no, I actually read this last, but there's quite a few holiday books here. But we have Holiday Ever After by Hannah Grace. This is the second Hannah Grace book that I read this year. I also read Icebreaker, which is coming up. I enjoyed it and I really liked Icebreaker, so I was like excited to read what else that Hannah Grace had. The thing is I read this after the Dream Harbour series, which you'll see coming up, and both of them are like a small town holiday romance, so I found myself comparing the two, and I found that Dream Harbour was better in my opinion in terms of that like small town charm. So that's why it kind of like was a little lower for me. I think maybe if I had read this not back to back, say like different years or something like that, I might have enjoyed this more. It's just hard when you read two similar things. You obviously are going to like one more than the other, and this is not to say this is a bad book. I just didn't like it as much as the other ones. I liked both of the main characters and their relationship. I thought it was really cute and well done. I don't know if this is just like Hannah Grace's writing style. She's like a very smart person and you can tell it by her writing. There was just a lot of corporate speak in my holiday romance and I don't want that. Especially I was reading this over my holiday break and I just wanted a break from work. But she put a lot of that into it because like, you know, there's a lot of the book is about. She is a very smart businesswoman. He's a small business owner, so it obviously makes sense that it's there, but it's just like, I want to escape from work. Okay, I don't want to be reminded from it. Overall, it was still a really fun holiday read. I gave it 3.75 out of 5 stars. Okay, up next we have the Bridgerton series. I did listen to all 8 books on audiobook. I did the first 4 last year. No, the year before, 26. I did the first 4 in 2024 and the back half 4 in 2025. So just for anyone who hasn't read the series or you kind of forget how the book order and the TV show order is a little bit different. So book 1 is Daphne and Simon. Book 2 is Anthony and Kate. Book 3 is Benedict and Sophie. Book 4 is Colin and Penelope. Book 5 is Eloise and Philip. Book 6 is Francesca and Michael. Book 7 is Hyacinth and Gareth. And book 8 is Gregory and Lucy. Based on my personal rankings, Francesca's is my least favorite, then Colin and Penelope, then it's Daphne, then Anthony and Benedict's books were tied, and then above that you have Eloise and Gregory, and then my favorite was Hyacinth. So it's actually funny that some of the back half of the books are some of my favorite. So Bridgerton fans, get ready, the really good books are coming. There are things in every single one of the books that I did and didn't like. This video would be so long if I went in detail of all of them. Like, I think I could do a separate video just talking about the Bridgerton series, so I will skip that. But that being said, even though I like the characters and the romance in the earlier books has a lot more of the like Bridgerton family fun and all of the characters interacting together, which I liked more and was kind of missing in some of the later books. But it kind of makes sense because the earlier books, younger siblings are younger, they're at home, they're all together, versus the later books, all of the older ones are married and have their own families. Sorry to Bridgerton fans if you like that. It's gonna happen less and less as we go on. Hyacinth and Eloise, easily my favorite Bridgerton siblings, though Kate is another strong female character. I really like the series and I really miss listening to audiobooks. The audiobook production was amazing, and I compare every single audiobook I listened to it to that one because they did such a good job. Up next, we have my other classic that I read this year, which is Anne of Green Gables, and this edition also has Avonlea. I don't know. It has the second book, a part of it. I read both. It was really cute. It was a really cute book. I understand why so many people like Anne of Green Gables. Just like Marilla, there were some monologues of Anne where I'm like, are you done yet? But it is interesting to see in between the first and the second book just how much Anne grows, and even the writing kind of grows along with her. I felt like in the first book there was a really big focus on Anne's first year with the family, and then the rest of it was very rushed. I wish if there was a little bit more balanced perspective where we got a little snapshot better over time instead of just like a lot of the first year. But I really liked her character growth in between the two novels and her relationships and all the side characters. I didn't necessarily feel a strong enough pull to read the rest of the series, especially because I don't own it. And also, I've heard a lot of people say that the first two are really the best ones anyway. So I just Googled descriptions of the rest of the series and read that. So anyways, I gave this 4 out of 5 star. It gave me really high hopes of what classic books were going to be like, and I guess they're not all like this. I will eventually read some of my other classic books, but I did not make a reading goal this year to read a certain number. Up next, we have Every Summer After. I have a different edition than all of the other ones, which kind of makes me sad. I wish I had the matching one. But anyways, this is Carly Fortune's first book, and I read this in a day. I read this on a plane. I started it and I was like, well, I gotta finish it. I'm on a plane. What else am I gonna do? And I was just like so sucked into the story. This is the second Carly Fortune book that I read. And she is a queen of sense of place. You just feel like you're at the cottage with her. I think she just does such a good job of describing a setting and making you feel like you're there. She beautifully captured like what it means to be in summer at a cottage. I mean, I guess it's helpful that I haven't been exactly where the books are written, but I've been to similar locations up north in Canada's cottage country, so I can really like picture it very well. But yeah, I think she beautifully captured it. I think she also captured the insecurities of being a teen pretty well too. I did find adult Percy to be a little annoying, the main character. And don't get me started on the whole entire plot twist drama. I saw it coming from a mile away, and I know a lot of people online have very strong feelings about the plot twist. I'm not going to spoil it just in case you want to read it. But that being said, I get it. I get why it was done. Was it my favorite thing ever? No. But yeah, I liked Mimi at the Lake more. That was the first one that I read. And then you're going to see her other book, One Golden Summer. I also like that more. I still haven't read her other book that's set in PEI, though I have it on my bookshelf. So this is like my least favorite of hers, but it was still so good. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Okay, up next we have Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. I read her books for the first time the year before. Loved them, so I was very excited for her new book. One of the things I like about Abby Jimenez is that she brings really good real world drama to her books. My thing about this one though, I felt like the drama overtook the romance. So it felt more like a drama with a romance subplot than the other way around. I think the first date in between the two characters is iconic and definitely one that I will remember for a while. I really liked the characters and their relationship. I was just rooting for them the whole entire time. This is kind of one of those books where it's like the characters are just so meant to be together, but the world is just like trying to pull them apart and they're trying to make it work. If you don't like a cheesy romance, then I think you'll love this book. This is not cheesy compared to some of the other books I'm going to mention. This, like I said, has real world stuff. My friend was asking like, oh, do you think I'll like it? And I will mention that like this is a long distance relationship, so you don't like reading that, you won't enjoy it. Also, one of the big things is that the female main character's mom, Samantha, has dementia. So if you also don't want to read about that, then I would skip this book. There were some pretty sad moments. Definitely shed a couple of tears, but it was pretty good. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Not my favorite of hers, but a really good reading. Okay, I don't know where my book is. I think my brother has it somewhere, but I read Onyx Storm, the third in the Fourth Ring series. I read it when it came out, which was like a year after the second book, so it definitely took a while for me to just like understand what was going on in the book. I even watched a couple of like recap videos explaining the first two. Even that, I found it a while to get into the book. I think the first like 100 pages was just like a little bit of a slog to get through, if I remember correctly. I read this like the beginning of last year, so it was hard to remember, but the pacing was really good once you got over that first like initial 50 to 100 pages. I enjoyed this book. I will say that I agreed with a lot of people online that like when you kind of took a step back, it didn't necessarily do anything to advance the series, but it was still like fun to read all of the adventures that they were doing. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, did I enjoy the book? Yes, but was it necessarily good for the series? I'm curious to see once the series is complete how I feel about the book in the moment. And that's like one of the things of like reading a series as it comes out versus reading all of the books at once, is that, you know, sometimes when you take a step back and look at the whole entire thing, you feel a lot different. But yes, I also enjoyed Violet's character a lot more in this book, but one of my complaints is that there's way too many side characters to keep track of, and I sometimes find this happens in like fantasy books, is that they just like add too much and it's just like pare it down. We don't need all these people, focus on the main people. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I really like the series. I wish the next book was coming out right now, but apparently it's not coming out till 2027, so see you in a while. I just realized I missed a book. So Onyx Storm was 4.5. This was a 4-star, so we're just taking a little step back. This is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. Like I mentioned, this is the first one I read by her, and this book was all over book talk for a while. I was actually a little late reading it at the beginning of 2025. I was a little underwhelmed, but it was still pretty good. And I think that happens sometimes when you have really hyped books online, is that you have a certain perception going into it, and then if it doesn't match your perception, it can lead to some disappointment. I didn't like the main female character at first, Anastasia, but she did grow on me. And I really liked Nate and Anastasia's relationship. I liked it, but I really liked the side characters. The cast of characters that they had around the two were amazing, and they really are what made it, and like the relationship in between the characters and the side characters were really good, which I'm excited because I do have somewhere the second book in the series, so I'm excited to like see more development of those side characters. The smut was really good, but it wasn't very well balanced. There was periods where there was just like a lot of it, and then there wouldn't be like a lot of it for a while, and then there would be like a lot, and it was just like it didn't space out and pace really well, the smut, even though it was pretty good. I also felt like the ending dragged out a little bit, could have wrapped it up a little bit better, but yes, I enjoyed it. And I wanted to read more by Hannah Grace. That's where I read her Hollywood book this year. But yeah, I did enjoy it. It was good. It was just like not the 5 out of 5 stars I thought it was going to be. My voice is starting to go. We got three more. Okay, up next we have the Dream Harbour series by Laurie Gilmore. I did not read this in publication order. My mom had gotten me the Strawberry Patch Strawberry Patch Pancake House for when I went on my cruise because it came out in the spring. It was a new book. She didn't realize it was a part of a series, so I had read it, which was the best one to read not in series because some of the other ones really connect and have the side characters interact a lot versus this one didn't as much. So it was probably fine that I read it first, but then I read the rest in order. So up first you have the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, which you probably have seen everywhere, and then the next one is the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, the Christmas Tree Farm, then the Strawberry Patch book came out, and then this year was the newest one, the Gingerbread Bakery. Aren't the covers just adorable? If you don't like cheesy romance, this is not for you. This is like a cheesy Hallmark movie and a spicy adult book had a baby, and I absolutely loved it. Not everyone's cup of tea, but it is definitely my cup of tea. It definitely gives like Gilmore Girl small town vibes as well, which I also just enjoyed. I loved it. I love all of the characters in the town. They're just so cute. I do think it's best to read them in publication order, but I also think reading it during the corresponding season is the most fun. I will say one of my complaints is that the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, you would think this is a fall book, right? It's like August, September is when the book is set, so it's more of like a summer into fall read, and I was reading it more in November and it just didn't feel right. They're talking about the summer heat and going to the beach, and I'm just like, where's my pumpkin spice? So my rankings go, my favorite is the Christmas Tree Farm, then you have the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, then it's the Strawberry Patch, then the Cinnamon Bun, and then the newest one, the Gingerbread. This is another series where it's like I could do a whole entire dedicated video into speaking about it, but I'm already at 15 minutes of filming, so we're gonna wrap it up and just say that I gave it a 4.6 average when I averaged all of my ratings out, so I really enjoyed it. Okay, last two books of the year. They're both romance. I don't think this will surprise anyone. Coming in at number 2, we have Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey. If you watched some of my previous years, I love me a Tessa Bailey book. I know they're not for everyone, but I think she does super spicy books really well while also doing really good character development. This is a golf sports romance, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Who knew? Maybe because I have a very basic knowledge of golf. Like, I know it because my dad watches golf all the time, but like, do I really understand how the PGA works? No. So this was super fun. I loved the main character, Josephine. This book is for my grumpy sunshine trope lovers. If you like that trope, you'll love this book. I think they did it so well. I really liked the growth of the two characters, and you'll know that one of my pet peeves is I hate a third act breakup. None in sight. None in sight. They communicated like adults. There was like tension and drama, but it was never in question that they were going to stay together and work through it, which I loved. I have read a bunch of different sports romance now this year. This was the second one, and it was just very different. Like, every single one that I've read so far are very different. Of like, you have Icebreaker and Deep End where they're students, versus Fangirl Down, and then the F1 one are like the top athletic pros, but all very different. I got the rest of the books in her series, except for I'm missing one of them. I think I'm missing the second one, the Au Pair Affair, but I have the other two, and I definitely think I'm going to read them this year, especially I know the baseball one, I think a lot of people are really liking. I mean, I think all of my fellow Torontonians are, after the Blue Jays, are just obsessed with baseball. So definitely I'm excited to read the rest of those. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I loved every second of it. And finally, my favorite book of the year is One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. And I think this is a special edition because I got like a sparkly cover, and I'm happy I am because I love this book. When I wrote my review and notes, I said this was easily the best book of the summer and a contender for best book of the year. And yes, it is the best book of the year that I read. I also think this is Carly Fortune's best book. To be fair, I have not read one of them, but I don't know. I'll revisit when I read that other book. But I think she captures perfectly, once again, a strong sense of place and feeling of being at the cottage in summer. And there's so many fun moments, little pockets of fun that you just you love. Alice's relationship with her grandmother was so fun. Also, Charlie and her, there were so many moments where I was just laughing out loud. I really liked Alice and Charlie and the progression of their relationship, especially compared to Percy and Sam. I just really liked it a lot more. And if you remember what I said, oh, I don't want to spoil this, but there is a third act breakup, but I think for once it actually was called for. It did help move the plot along. Sometimes I find that it's like unnecessary and you're just doing it for drama, but in this case it actually worked. It made sense. It was just so good. Oh, I loved it. It was definitely 5 out of 5 stars for me. This upcoming summer, if you're looking for a good book, I definitely would recommend this. I also don't think you necessarily need to read the first one. Like, it's kind of helpful, but this one is definitely the better of the two. So yeah, there we go. 30 books, 30 plus books, because I also talked about the other Bridgerton books. That is all the books I read this year. Definitely a lot of romance books. I think I'm going to try and be a little better this year of reading a couple more genres. It's one of those things where it's like, I want to read diverse books, but then also some of my favorite books are the romance. So I don't know. My goal for 2026 is to read 32 books. So just 2 more, which kind of breaks down into like 8 books every 3 months. So that's kind of where we're at. Let me know in the comments what your favorite book was of 2025 and what your reading goals are for 2026. I'm hoping to be better at posting regular book content on my TikTok. Your girl didn't post a single review in 2025, and I decided to skip doing a books video there just because I'm way too busy to put it out here and on my TikTok. So I'm hoping to be better at posting more book content. I am very active on Goodreads, and by active I mean usually within 2 months I post my reviews. But anyways, friends, please like this video if you enjoy book content, and please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any new videos. That is it for today's video, friends, and I'll see you in another one super soon. Bye.